Hey guys! I just got back from a trip to New York City during these coronavirus times, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to make a video about what you can do, what you can't do, and overall just what is it like visiting New York City during these coronavirus times. So I will go ahead and start with the arrival in the airport. So make sure before you take off on your trip, you check the Coronavirus New York State website because it gives a list of states that they recommend that you do a volunteer quarantine for 14 days. I came from California, so I wasn't on the list of states that had to do the quarantine, which was really nice. But just make sure that you do that. When I did arrive in the airport, I didn't see, anyone there to take your temperature or enforce that. But still, it's just safe to check the list and make sure that you're following the guidelines to make sure that you don't get fined or get in any trouble like that. So first things first, we'll go ahead and talk about the things that weren't affected by COVID. Things like parks, public transportation, walking around, anything really that's outdoors and you would normally do when you're visiting New York, you can still do. As long as you're wearing a mask, you're practicing social distancing, it should pretty much be exactly like any other time that you're visiting New York. One thing that did stand out to me were the amount of public safety workers that were everywhere. In crowded places like Times Square, parks, markets, they were just walking around and making sure that people were keeping their masks on. And even several times I saw them, wiping down tables, benches, chairs, anything that people were sitting on, which was really nice to see. One thing that I actually thought was pretty cool was that a lot of the public restrooms were still open. They had the public safety workers, working there, regulating the amount of people that were going in, cleaning. But a lot of them were still open, which I was kind of concerned about, when you're walking around New York all day. So just keep that in mind that, you should be able to find a restroom. Shout out to the public restroom in the Bryant Park because that was one of the nicest park restrooms I've ever used. They kept it really clean and they were limiting the amount of people that went in very strictly. So it was really nice to see. Moving on to the things that are actually affected by COVID. Obviously, the biggest one is that, there's not going to be any Broadway shows, no concerts, no pro sports games, things of that nature. So if that's the reason why you want to go to New York, then obviously that would be a huge hindrance to the type of trip that you'd want to have. But overall, I would say nothing is really completely closed because of COVID. It's just more, minor regulations that they have to go into accordance with the COVID regulations. So we'll start off with, indoor markets. There's an indoor market in Chelsea called the Chelsea Market that's really popular. It's just a huge, almost warehouse type building with a lot of food vendors inside. So basically it's still open, just what they've done is they've kind of flipped it outside. So you can walk up to the window and you can order food from there and take it to go or sit at a bench nearby, but you can't actually walk inside the market. Same thing with the Time Out Market that's in Brooklyn. They still actually have it open indoor, just some of the vendors are closed and they're just regulating how many people are going in. And you just can grab the food and go either sit up on the rooftop or you can sit in front on the bench. So in regards to, museums and attractions like the Met, the MoMA, Empire State Building, Top of the Rock, even taking the ferry out to the Statue of Liberty. All of these things are open as usual. You just have to book a ticket in advance so that way they can limit the number of people that are going in. When it comes to restaurants, I feel like it's the same pretty much all around the country. So, some of them have just outdoor seating, some of them are grab and go, some of them have limited seating inside. So I think it's smart just to call ahead if you are really adamant about sitting inside somewhere. Just see, what their seating arrangements are like, see if you need a reservation, anything like that. We wanted to go to this rooftop bar, but it was unclear whether or not it was open. So we just decided to give them a call, ask them if we needed a reservation, if their hours were normal, and they reassured us that it was. So it never hurts to just check before you go. Overall, I thought it was a really great trip to New York City during COVID times. This is my third time going, so I was a little bit apprehensive just to see, what am I going to be able to do this time versus the other times. But I really didn't think that anything, took away from my trip. There wasn't anything that I wanted to do that I absolutely couldn't because of COVID. But if you are into Broadway shows and concerts, like I said before, that is going to be something that would really affect your trip. But for me personally, I felt like I was able to do everything that I wanted to do on my list, which was really cool. And there were less crowds, which made it even better. Normally, obviously, New York is pretty crowded, especially places like, you know, Times Square or walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. So it was really nice to be in those areas and actually be able to, you know, get photos without people in them and just feel like you had more space to move around, which was really nice. Just the main things, obviously, that's going to be different is you're going to have to wear a mask and you're going to have to practice social distancing, but that's pretty much everywhere else too. So if you're thinking about traveling to New York during these COVID times, I hope that this video really helped you out. If you have any specific questions or you've been to New York during the COVID times and had, you know, a little bit different experience, go ahead and comment below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you need any more tips or itineraries about New York, I will post the link to my blog down below so you can read more about that. But thanks for watching.